Information session to order in 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 0. Hi. So my name is Sean Koopman. I'm your friendly neighborhood protective services coordinator for the Strathcona Regional District. And to get to know each other a little bit better, as well as test that we know how to push the button and work the microphones on and off, I'll ask my fellow staff members to also introduce themselves. We'll do a round table with the people in attendance and then go to everybody online to make sure that they can hear us, see us, and that we can hear them as well. So, and Rivers, you're cool doing dual bouncer duty for the next couple minutes, just in case a couple people show in. Okay. Make sure to check for ID, appear intimidating, don't let any of the ruffians in. And so, yeah, that's me, and I'll turn it over to Tom.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tom Yates, Corporate Officer with the Regional District, and welcome as well to those online. Hopefully you can hear us okay. I guess we'll get a sound check later on, but anyways, welcome.
And sitting there in the corner, he just seems to put himself there before he does anything bad, is our IT manager, Rivers Mitchell.
Doug Offerhouse, 5582 Raceway Road.
Amy Lotus, 5850 Race Point Road.
Michelle Dunn, 6200 Race Point Road.
Oh,
Bottom right.
oh, okay. Oh,
You should have it there. Dietmar Setzer, 5898 Race Point Road.
Mary Louie, 5898 Race Point Road.
Harold Shook, 5462 Race Point Road.
Gary Griffith, 5588 Race Point Road.
Jack Robinson, 5718 Race Point.
And online, we'll go Aaron, then Brenda, then Matt.
Aaron Nelson, 5700 Race Point Road.
Brenda Schmidt, 5696 Race Point Road.
Matt Lotus, 5850 Race Point Road.
All right, so to take us all back to the beginning, it was the spring of 2021. The regional district received a letter from the city of Campbell River asking if the Duncan Bay area and Race Point Road area of electoral area A would like to receive fire services. This was a recommendation based on their community wildfire protection plan. We sent out a letter to the residents essentially asking that question. We've gotten this letter from the city. Is this something the residents would like us to look into further? We received 18 responses from the Race Point Road area, 17 of those saying, yeah, SRD staff, please go forward, find out more information, bring that back to us. We brought that back to our regional board. The regional board agreed. We sent out another letter asking, what are your inquiries, questions, concerns about the service? And the most common themes that we saw were, of course, what does it cost? How is the service going to be provided, i.e. the water for fire suppression, and the response time as well. Engaged the city, brought back those statistics, the cost, how they're going to provide water, the response time. That was also in the fact sheet that was on the invitation that was mailed out, as well as it's in the full feasibility study. I think I had 7 printed copies. If you didn't get a copy and you would like a printed copy, I can always sneak away and go print off another one for you, and send another mail out to the areas. how would you like us to proceed? Do you want us to start the service right now? Do you want us to host some virtual meetings? Would you like us to put together a steering committee? And if so, would you be interested in being a volunteer member of that steering committee? The overwhelming response from both areas was, yeah, we love the idea of a steering committee with residents being put together, but actually only 6 residents, 2 from the Duncan Bay and 2 from the Race Point Road area, offered to step up to be part of that steering committee. So for Race Point, Amy, Mary, Brenda, who is online, Sadhu, who's not here with tonight, and Aaron Wallace was part of that steering committee, but has since moved away from the Race Point Road area. We had about 4 meetings, one with the former Campbell River Fire Chief, so the steering committee could ask him those operational questions directly, compiled all that information, took it back to the steering committee. Okay, we've done all that we can. We've gathered information. We've calculated the cost per household. Does the steering committee feel that the area should have a chance to vote on this? The steering committee said yes, and the petition process starts tomorrow. Tom, anything you'd like to add in there?
Well, I would only add that as staff, we basically follow the direction given by our board, which includes the elected director for Area A, in which Race Point Road is situated. And so we really don't have any feelings one way or the other. This is really a matter for residents to make a decision on, and it is a process, and we'll talk about the process and answer your questions about that. I've heard, for example, earlier this evening, maybe it's not the right time of year to be asking the question. Well, maybe that's true, maybe not, I don't know. But at this point, we're simply following the board's direction, which is to gauge the interest of residents through petition process, whether they wish us to proceed with establishing a service or not. And so that's where we're at.
This isn't the first time that we've had these situations. You know, if I go back 20 years, we had a similar situation with water. And all of a sudden, a handful of people decided that, oh, let's join the city, and then we get instant water. And we all ended up at City Hall. And it was very quickly determined that that was so far from the truth. That wasn't going to happen. In fact, we were told by the treasurer at the time, you're going to have 5 years before you see anything other than taxes. Which, fair enough. I mean, if that's what it is, that's what it is. And at that point, it didn't go any further. Okay. And I think we're premature in this only because we're missing too many people. We got too many people that have spent a lifetime living out there and heading south for the winter. And then when they get back, they get organized and do their thing. I don't know what the heck the urgency is here. Why would it be urgent? Why is there a situation? Well, somebody said April or some damn thing. 14th. April 14th. Why does it have to be April 14th? What does it matter? And, you know, I've been out there for, I think, 22 years, 23 years, something like that. And I've yet to see a fire that was directly related to this. There was one fire, and that was on Kevin and Sharon's home. And you told me that the home was in lockup. That home was not in lockup whatsoever. And I was the only one on site at 8 o'clock that next morning where the police wouldn't let me go through the tape. You were around there. And really what happened there was there wasn't even garage doors on the place. And that was one really miserable night out there because I came home and it was pissing down rain and wind and whatnot. And in those days, it wasn't uncommon at all to have transient people up at the lookout waiting to head north So now they get there and they're faced with all this weather. And guess what? They look down the road and here's a house that's absolutely covered in scaffolding all the way around. Okay. And they think, oh, well, you know, maybe we can get a little bit of shelter. So they come down and they get into the garage because there's nothing to stop them from getting into the garage. And next thing you know, there's wood chips all over the place in the garage. And they start a little fire just to try and keep warm. It got away from them. And then they ran like hell. So that's really away from what we're talking about here. Okay.
But you raised an interesting question. So the deadline is currently April 14th, is that right? What would you suggest would be a better date, a deadline? Like,
Well,
leave it for another month, 2 months,
probably 2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months, so that would be.
Because there's many of us that just got this in the mail and then it was said, oh, next week there's a meeting, you know? And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here? And I've got a number of questions about this whole process, but I would like the people from Race Point Road to be present to talk to me about what's going on. And to discuss it. But people from Race Point Road, I don't want to talk to people from Duncan Bay Road, and I don't want to talk to people from Campbell River or anything else. This is what we're talking about. Talk to people from Race Point Road. Because a lot of us have been there a long time, and we haven't seen any of these problems. I don't consider what happened at Kevin's place an issue. It was an unfortunate circumstance. And then when the house burnt down, guess what? What happens when you got a house and it's got scaffolding all the way up like that? And then a little fire starts. Well, guess what? The scaffolding's holding it all together and you got a bloody torch going up. And at 7 o'clock in the morning when I got there and phoned Kevin, said, Kevin, your house just burned down. You know, and I was working for Kevin at the time. And so I don't consider that as, gee, this guy's house partially burnt down and we put it out with water or whatever. No. This was an absolute unusual situation. It was, Amy, how long ago was that? 12 years ago? Yeah, okay. 10 years before that to now, I've never seen another situation like that. I've never seen another house out there that has been faced with a fire situation. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
Point of this is would be protection. And so if a house was on fire, there would be some service to possibly, you know, put the fire out before it completely burned to the ground. I think it's in case of a, you know, that was an accident. Anybody on the street could have a fire accident where their home catches on fire. And the potential is there. I think that's
the reason why we're having this discussion. It's for the protection. I mean, it could happen. Will it happen? That remains to be seen.
Okay,
right?
but tell me this, when a fire starts, how long have you got to put that out or get it under control before it's not even worth trying?
Yeah, fair enough, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And this 15-minute nonsense is exactly nonsense. There's no bloody way you're going to phone a fire department, and I don't care where they are, and get them prepped up and ready to go and get out there and have it manned and have the water on and get this thing under control in 15 minutes. So, but this is what we're telling the people. We're telling the people 15 minutes.
Could I interject? I know the fire chief said that he might not save your house, but he would save your neighbor's house. So some of the houses are close together. And so I think that's something that we should consider.
I have a neighbor that's very close to my house. Okay. And he knows because I've gone and put in quite a well system, okay? So I'm down 440 feet. I have 60 PSI and I have 38.2 gallons per minute coming out of there. And that neighbor knows that if his kids accidentally do what kids do, he's to get in there, turn the water on and put it out at his place. Because I can shoot water from my place right over the top of his place. And yet, the way this is being structured, I'm going to be penalized because I've made the effort to try and improve my situation. And now I'm going to be taxed for improving my situation. Well, that's BS. You're being too quiet. So this is, I think, why we need more time to actually absorb more of this and get more opinions. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try and speak for Warren Bird or try and speak for Steve Marshall. Not at all. I know Steve's thoughts about it, but I'm not going to speak for him. And there's more than this group that needs to be filled in. Okay, we've got a whole new organization since the last election. And those people need to be filled in on what the hell we're doing. Right from the mayor down. Anybody disagree with that?
I'm not too sure who you're referring to. You
Well,
say the mayor on down.
Well, we're talking about politics here. However you cut it, this is all politics.
You may be right.
Okay.
I haven't seen that here.
And we have a new mayor in Campbell River. And I've already spent $2,000 to $3,000 on tires at his place. So.
Right, just so you know, this is not coming from the mayor, just so you know that.
It may not be coming from the mayor, but the mayor has the right to have an opinion.
Certainly.
No, we're not in the city. We're outside the city,
Yes.
so the mayor has no jurisdiction.
Are you in the city?
No.
No, this is for the electoral area A, Race Point Road.
So where in Race Point Road do you live?
I live in the city.
You live in the city.
Yeah,
Well, so,
but we work for the Strathcona Regional District, which is the local government for the electoral areas.
well, fair enough, but you still live in the city.
Yes.
So why shouldn't others that live in the city that would have influence over the entire layout of how many communities there are, because I don't know them all. I mean, we have communities in Tassus and Zabellis and all sorts of things like that.
So, sir, I think you're distracting really far from the issue here. Regional districts set up service established areas. We draw a circle, a triangle, a square around the area that benefits from the service. This is solely about Race Point Road area of electoral area A, not Tassus, Sabalis, Sayward.
I didn't say
That this went
it was. I was
this
just
went
thinking
to
that
the
it
Strathcona board 4 weeks ago, and they voted all unanimously to start the petition process, which we can delay.
And I think you should delay.
Okay.
So I'd like to hear others' opinions, not necessarily on this issue, but questions. I mean, we produced this report And I can't believe there wouldn't be some questions somewhere in there, so would certainly invite those tonight. We'd like people to be informed. Whenever the deadline might roll around, we'd certainly like people to be informed before they make their decision.
So a couple of things that, and perhaps I'm not understanding, part of the report is that the numbers, it shows, your 0.4410, tax rate for houses and presumably a different, like the 0.8 rate for lots based on, that net taxable value, 48 mil. And then this conversion rate of 10%, which the converted rate ends up being actually half of 10%, that ends up being closer to 5. Or well, I guess it's 0.236. It's like if you. and
That's
maybe-
interesting. I just noticed that. Yeah, you're right.
Like,
So
you know what I'm saying?
it
It's
it
the
should
rate.
be,
that makes
conversion
sense.
assessment should be 4,853,260.
Right?
But the bottom line is it doesn't really matter because there's no other classes of property, at least that we know
Okay.
of. So the full cost per year would be borne by the residential class. But
And,
you're right, that number is incorrect.
and so my question is, this converted assessment is not a rate that is what you're supposed to charge then? It's just the 21,401, that is how you determine what,
Yeah, so in most areas, Race Point is kind of different. Most areas are gonna have all kinds of different property classes,
course.
commercial, farm, maybe utility classes, whatever. They all have different weightings. And this is a table that basically converts them all to the same language, if you will.
I see.
And then from that, we can calculate what percentage of each property class picks up or makes up the tax bill for the year.
So basically you guys figured out 21,401 is what you need per year in order to run.
That's what the city is saying to us is what they would charge to service this area.
Okay.
I have no idea how they arrived at that number, but that's what they're saying.
For how long is that?
Sorry,
That's for 1 year,
per year.
per year, but for 1 year or for?
Yeah,
Is,
like.
is the rates
contract.
gonna go up 2 years from now, and
Exactly.
3 years from now, and 4 years from now?
Well,
And in
we've,
fact-
well,
and-
what would happen is if this goes ahead, and I'm just saying, it's big if, right? If it goes ahead, we would not sign a 1-year contract with the city because we don't want to be back every year talking to you folks about, taxes. So probably it would be a 5-year contract. That's a typical thing in local government. So 21,000 per year for 5 years.
So would we be locked in for 5 years as individual owners?
Well,
We wouldn't have a choice of getting out of this thing?
no, this is a collective decision. Either the area wants this or they don't. So it's a yes or a no vote collective.
Okay, so that's all the more importance that we make sure that we're covering all the people of Race Point. And
I'm not denying any of that, but I think this young lady here had some more questions.
So based on what you said, even at a 5-year contract,
Right.
the petition states quite clearly that it would be the greater of 20,401 or the equivalent 0.441 rate, which,
Right.
and I just pulled numbers quickly off of BCAA.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's already way over that for this year.
Really?
Because, so,
We didn't, I don't think we had the 2023 assessments when we did this one, but what numbers do
okay,
you have?
but even like I did the numbers for the 2022 assessments, I actually got different numbers than you did, but close, 46 mil 938. And then the 2023 assessed values, I've got 54 mil 778, it's almost 79. So that, based on the 0.441 tax rate for the houses and 0.815 for the lots, works out to 24,785, which is already over the 21,000, right? So the average increase from last year to this year is, if we had been doing it, is about 75 for the houses and about 100 for the lots. So I guess And related to that cost element is that from what our insurance agent tells us anyway, even with this fire service, because we're outside of the, was it 13 kilometer
Right.
number, we're not gonna get our insurance reduced. And this
Right.
year, we're paying $888 more for for.
And I
fire
think
coverage.
that's one of the main reasons this area was separated from Duncan
Right.
Bay, because there are different issues at
Oh.
Race Point. There's no getting around the fact that you're well beyond the travel limits that most insurance companies will recognize for fire protection. So it's not as if you're gonna get some insurance savings to balance out what you have to pay in taxes or anything like that. I mean, you might get lucky and get that, but that'd be very unusual, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah,
So
so I
these
get,
are all legitimate issues,
Yeah.
and, you know, that's why we are compelled by law to take this to the electors,
Mhm,
to the property owners, and they have to decide whether they want this or not.
mhm.
I appreciate this gentleman's, you know, feeling that maybe we're rushing too much. And hey, I don't know anyone that lives in Race Point, so what do I know? This is just a process. We go through this process time and time again.
Mhm.
All kinds of different areas throughout the region who want a fire department or street lights or a water system, whatever. It's a standard process. And if the people decide this is not for us, nothing would please us more. We'll move on to the next project.
There may have been recent developments which will have a bearing on this. Immediately to the north of Race Point Road, a stone's throw away, a huge development is being proposed on city property, about 100 units. They will not have fire protection. They will have their own water system, groundwater system, and own sewage system, but no fire protection.
Well,
Don't you
actually,
think they should be considered as well?
They will.
those properties, I believe, are within city limits.
Yes, I
Yeah,
know,
that's what
but
he
I mean,
Yeah.
they're stone's throw away from us.
They will receive fire protection.
Yeah,
They
that's-
will?
They will, from the city.
From the
Yeah,
city, yeah.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
how
they're
come
part
we
of
will
the
not?
city.
We're what,
Are you-
we're
are you
half
sure
blown
about
away.
that, Sean?
We're not part of the city.
Because you're not, because Race Point Road is in electoral area A, not within the city of Campbell River.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I spoke to the developer because we border his property and he, you know, this is a if, but he said we may be able to supply some fire service to the residents of Race Point Road because he has such a huge aquifer. And as I understand it, he's supplying his own water and his own fire service.
So septic, everything.
Yeah, so he's got his own water system. He was planning on having his own fire service. That's what he's told me. And who knows what's changed,
Is
right? But, you know, a year ago, whenever we had spoke to him, that was his idea that he would have, his own fire pumper truck or whatever fire service there. And that he may also be able to offer that option to the residents of Race Point Road. So it's a big if,
Hope
but.
it's not the same truck that was sitting there during his bonfire.
It's a big if, but it's a possibility. Yeah.
That's on that 30.
That well was developed by the forestry company that owned the property initially.
Oh, is that right? Well, he said it's huge aquifer.
It's true.
Yeah. They claimed that they had enough water out of that one to supply all of Race Point. But then they were having trouble on trying to get the routing down Race Point Road. Because actually I was working for Kevin at the time and they came and saw me to see whether or not I could dig trenches all the way down. Kevin wouldn't let me. But that was developed by Merle Ring. Yeah, that's it.
I just want to take a moment. So Aaron, Brenda, Matt, and just wondered if you had any questions or comments. I can understand when you're online, it can be hard to know when to chime in.
I would agree with Jack on one point in particular, and that's that I think it's important to get everybody's perspective. When we had a similar call to this around this development at the top of Race Point. and there was literally nobody on Race Point on the call. And so I do agree with Jack that I think it's important to get everybody's opinion, and the bulk of the residents on Race Point are seasonal, and they're not there right now. And so I do think that there's some value in having a discussion around maybe repeating this conversation in, May or June.
Thanks, Matt.
I think what he's referring to is the actual meeting with the city about that development happened in January. And so there was not many people got the letter or even knew about it. And so then they were given the rezoning application.
Yeah. Hey, can you guys hear me? It's Aaron Nelson here.
Yeah, we can hear
Hello?
you, Aaron. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, I just wanted to, I was on that call with Matt as well, and I felt like we weren't very heard by the city. We had real concern over the access off Race Point with another 220 dwellings and, potentially another, 440 cars, right? They just kind of washed us off and move forward with the development and access off Race Point. But to the point, I missed a bit. I'm just en route here dropping kids off at hockey, but I missed the point about the tax. And, I'm really concerned. I mean, we see the city, right? They really try to offset anything they do as a service. Area D water, for example. I mean, the people in the city that are right next door to Area D people pay almost twice as much for their water, twice as less, sorry, for their water than they do. And I'm really concerned that, the 220 lots to the north of us, and then there's another 54, 55 5-acre lots, which guaranteed will not be on city water. And what are they going to pay? Are they going to pay the same amount we're going to pay for the exact same service? Or are we going to end up subsidizing them because they're in the city of Campbell River?
Aaron, I believe that's been cut down to 10 lots now.
Nope. I missed that, Jack.
Sorry. I believe the last I heard on the lots, not of the big subdivision, but the other lots.
So.
Yeah. And I understand that's been reduced to 10 lots now.
No, that's
originally it was
one,
40 to 50, something like that, and then it kept on going down to try and get somebody satisfied, some government body satisfied.
They had to avoid all the frog ponds and the water sources and stuff up in that area.
Yeah.
So that's why it kept getting.
And I believe the number's around 10.
Yeah,
right
that's-
now.
I heard.
That is phase one. There will be multiple phases in that development. Right now, yeah, that's what they're doing to get some lots in the system and sold, but I guarantee you there will be multiple more. And they're dealing, and a lot of them they're trying to now access off Race Point as well, which in the city meeting, they told us they were all getting accessed off of different access points. So there is a little bit of, trust with the city of Campbell River and what they're implying here. I would love fire protection to reduce my ridiculous insurance costs out there, but obviously if we're paying $500 for something that's maybe gonna help us or maybe not, I could buy a water pump and a hose to hook up to the ocean myself.
Why don't you use mine? It's sitting right by your house.
Oh, I know, Jack. I know exactly how to use yours, but yeah, I'm just concerned based on the city just completely, not listening or not even considering our concerns previously, right?
I think it's important. Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, no, I probably shouldn't say anymore. I'm good. Thanks, guys.
I think it's important to confirm that as much as, we definitely appreciate, the effort that everybody's gone through to look into this, including my lovely wife, that I think it's can we please clarify that there is going to be no insurance implications from this at all?
Well, I can say that I think that would be quite odd for an insurance company to say, we don't care how far you are from the fire hall, we're going to cut your rates. They are quite typically insurance companies, they're all about risk. And, they measure these things against all kinds of different factors and distance from a fire hall. distance from a fire hydrant, are just a couple of the things. I'm not aware of any insurance company personally that offers premium discounts if the travel distance is more than 13.5 kilometers. There may be some out there. I don't know. I mean, it's a competitive business. They're trying to get customers, but I think it would be very unusual for an insurance company to offer lower rates. And I don't know exactly how far it is to Race Point from fire hall number 1.
14,
But 14 kilometers at least.
just
So-
over 14 at
Right.
the top of the hill. So that's like just entering Race
Right.
Point. In fact, the
So-
people at the southern end, like Steve Marshall, et cetera, that end, it's about 15 and a bit.
Right. So I would say it'd be quite unusual for anyone within this proposed area to find an insurance company that's prepared to offer them premium discounts, just based on what I know.
And I can tell you, our insurance agent hub, they deal with many underwriters and they checked, most of them apparently are at the 8-kilometer range. And then, a couple will give you the 13, but that's like super max,
Yeah.
right? So,
They're all over the map but like I say, I'm not aware of any that offer more than 13.5 kilometers. So,
To add one statement during a meeting with Campbell River's former fire chief, Thomas Doherty, so Amy, Brenda, and Mary were there for that. The city was going to sell a piece of property that they have in the north. The fire chief convinced them not to, in case a third fire hall is needed there in the future. Now, that's not in their financial plan at all. It was a statement over a meeting, but take that for what it is.
Where was that?
I can't.
by the gas station there,
It's
that
not a-
strip there, that little gas station with where they sell the fried chicken, it's in that.
They?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's like right, kitty corner to Rich
There's not an
Bottom,
address, hang on.
and, is it Orange Point Road?
I think,
No, I
yeah,
thought,
that
I
sounds,
thought they were talking about a fire station at Duncan Bay. At where the Duncan Bay Road takes off towards Timor.
Chief Doherty told us it was right, so there's Rich's Auto and Duncan Bay Store, and I think it was right next to Rich's Auto. There's a
Okay.
plot of land, but he said it was a long ways away, like don't
it's
even,
like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Within even, a year, right? It's like way down, maybe.
Probably way past my time.
No, no, Jeff. But yeah, I suppose if that happened, then it'd be more realistic. I guess to me, it's like there's so many factors against this even benefiting us. It was useful. I'm not saying that it wasn't useful to check it out, but in checking it out, it seems, well, number one, it's not going to help reduce our super high insurance costs. And by the time they get there, from stuff I've read online and what the fire chief said, by the time they get there, you're going to have like a major blaze going on. And then because there's no source water, they're doing this truck back and forth thing, filling from, I don't know, lakes or potentially the ocean or something. Is that going to be able to be fast enough? Like where, depending on where they get it, and
Hydrants on Duncan.
yeah, but they can't access a hydrant. Like they'd have to get a truck so they have to have like a bunch, and depending on the size of the hose, there's stuff online you can look up about how fast that water on a truck is dispensed, right? So then they better have a lot of dumper trucks or whatever they call
And
it.
you're gonna find that fire is gonna go so quick in there that house is not gonna be worth saving.
Yeah, apparently new materials, it's way faster than it used to be.
And that's what happened on Kevin's house.
Yeah,
Yes.
saw
Yeah.
it blow up and
Yeah.
we started watering it right
Yeah,
away,
right.
all night.
So
Well,
Mary, the fire chief informed at that meeting, the most common response, they would tender in water, fill it into a sack, and then fight from there.
Right.
But just, to clarify, one house goes up now, there's nothing stopping it from going to every single house. No response will occur.
Hey,
And that's
Oh,
that's
Sean.
the argument
Wait
for
a
it.
minute.
I mean, there's obviously a lot of arguments against, but that's the argument for. Is you're right, Jack, when that place went up, then and there's no way 15 minutes was going to help with that. But there were people dumping water on Steen's place next door to try to stop that thing from going up, which Dietmeier, your guys's would have gone up right next to it, and ours would have gone up right after it, right?
Well,
So-
no, because we're the ones that were controlling it and keeping our house wet and keeping Steve's
You were
house
lucky
wet.
because it was pouring that night, right? So
Actually, it wasn't pouring till later. It wasn't pouring till later. It was wet, but it wasn't pouring. It was windy, actually, is what it was.
Just to add to that, I mean, you know, Jack's there and I live about, I don't know, maybe 4 meters from Jack's house. So I'm probably less than that. And if his house went up or my house went up, in 15 minutes, they'd both be gone. So I just don't see the benefit of that in 15 minutes. And, you know, Jack himself took the investment and took the initiative to get the well and the high pressure. And yeah, I know how to operate it and it's there, but I just don't see, you know, the fire protection within 20 minutes or 25 minutes whenever they get there with one tanker full of water saving my house. I mean, if one of our two goes up, they're gone, right? There's just in 15 minutes, it's not going to help, but.
It'll be a bigger mess to clean up.
Yeah.
Another
Sure.
question that I had was, and it just reminded me, because this property to the north finally in December lit up all their bonfires. So, you know, forest fires for us are another huge risk. All it would take is someone throwing a cigarette off the highway for the forest right in front of my house to go up on fire. But any forestry related fires, I'm understanding, are not our Ministry of Forests and actually aren't related to this service that we would potentially get.
BC Wildfire will respond to fires on Crown land, forested Crown land.
But that land that you're talking about is now in the municipality. I can go right across the road from my place and I'm standing in the municipality property line there.
Yeah, whether it's in municipal boundaries or not, the Forest Service has an interest in protecting trees. And they probably would respond. They probably have an agreement with the city of Camel River to do
That's
that.
great.
But you're right, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the cost of having the municipal fire department respond under contract to your neighborhood in the event the neighborhood wants them to do that. I'm not hearing a lot of support for that right now, but the gentleman across the way here thinks we should wait and maybe, I mean, the way this works with petitions is there has to be a majority of the properties in support of this before we can do anything. So if the people in this room tonight are representative of the community, I would say it's not likely going to gain a lot of support. That would be my opinion as an observer.
That would be my hope, but sorry, but that's.
So I mean, we could leave the deadline the way it is, and you know, at the end of the, what is it, April 14th, whatever, not enough people have responded, so they're automatic no's, and then
Okay.
we just kill it. Or we could go to the board if that's the wish of the people here tonight, saying, you know, we've asked to delay the deadline, wait till more people are back, and give them an opportunity to participate in this process. And maybe that result will be different. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. So,
do we know why the board would be pushing this?
well, I think the only reason is because the city of Campbell River has said we are prepared to serve this area under contract for fire protection for this cost. And the board has said, well, we know nothing about that, but we'll ask the people if they're in favor. And so that's what we're doing, pure and simple.
This has been almost
We- we
this has
have
been almost a
designated
2-year
property.
process.
For a park, okay? And it's been
Sorry?
30 years.
I'm sorry.
I say we have designated property there for a park
Okay.
and it's been 25 to 30 years and nobody's done a damn thing there. And so where is the district on this? And how nice would it be if some of us older people could actually access the water in the park, and maybe even put a few benches down there that you could sit on. And you want to go fishing. I don't know if there's any fish left.
Currently, electoral area A does not have a park service. If that is a service you would like, it would be a very similar process. Approach your elected director. You would like a park service for this reason. We cost it out. We bring it back to you if you want it. And if the majority of the people want it, we increase your taxes to pay for
The fishing.
So just so I
You're
understand.
paying for the fishing, you know that.
Oh, just so that I understand, when you're talking about the 50%, I wanted to know, is it like 50% in an election? Just based on those who vote, or is
No.
it actual 50%
No.
of the 40?
No, I think there's about 55 properties. It's
40.
44, okay.
Something.
So mathematically, we would need 23 out of 44 to say we are in favor of this.
Okay.
Properties, not people, properties.
Right.
It's not a question of the majority who vote.
Okay.
It's an absolute majority of all the properties.
Okay.
I
I'd
would tell
like
you
to-
that as much as that I appreciate and we appreciate all the work everybody's put into this, I think that's going to be really hard to get.
I would agree, Matt.
I'd like to know how you come up with the 21,000 or the 24,000, maybe is more realistic for this year. How that cost is realized, and given what Jack said, you know, the risk versus the reality, you know, that money that we're paying every year is so small that would it ever be used? Like, what is the money going for? Where did that money, how'd you get that cost, and what would
So-
it be used for?
Right. Well, that's a good question. So the number, as I understand it, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, the number that the 21,000 was a number provided by the city of Campbell River to say, for this amount, we are prepared to provide fire protection to the Race Point Road area. And I think in their world, fire protection includes like paramedics and, you know, rescue and things like that. But that's the number that they gave us. It's not a number that we had anything. We didn't calculate that in any way. It's just a number they provided to us. So I wish the fire chief was here to perhaps answer that, but I don't know. I really don't know how they arrived at that number.
I won't comment on that.
Well, it seems like a high number. It feels
It
like
is a
it
high number.
pulled out of their, whatever, we won't say, but it's a high number, and I don't understand what's backing up how they arrived at that, because if there isn't anything going on, if there hasn't been any, say 2 years goes by, there's never been anything happen at Race Point Road, or 3 years or 5 years, yet we continue to give 25,000, 30,000, it goes up with taxes, it goes up every year. What's the money being used for? Why are we paying it, and where is it going
It's
to?
going-
So,
yeah.
it should be justified. Whatever number they come up with, it should be justified, for the reality of what is actually going to happen down that road, which is potentially nothing.
But I think that's kind of like any other government
Oh.
function, right? They calculate what it might cost, whether or not your area gets, needs the service or not, right? Like how many staff and how much the truck maintenance and all of that. I think that, and I don't think they're buying a new truck for us, right? I think that's what the fire chief said. It's basically what they already have, right? So they're just divvying it up into one extra piece for our 44 houses in addition, right? So I think it is just about admin costs and maintenance costs and stuff.
Okay.
That's what I think. And
But are we talking about 1 year? Or are we talking about 2 years or 3 years Or when does the capital cost have to come for new equipment?
Yeah, I think it's probably like if you had a strata or something, it's built in, you should have X amount set aside to, I don't know how they do their budgets, but it's.
It's my understanding that we're talking about a 5-year contract with the city, if this was to go ahead. And at the end of 5 years, obviously, there would have to be a renegotiation, or the city says, oh, we're fine with keeping the number the same, or whatever. I mean, we really don't know, but that would be typical in the world of government to look at a 5-year contract. And
But as I say, the number isn't going to be the same. It's already the amount based on the rate of 0.441, right?
well, I think
It's
the
already-
city of Campbell River would have to explain if they want to increase the number.
But they're not increasing it. Like the petition says the greater of 20,401 or the equivalent of 0.441 dollars.
Right,
Per
so,
thousand.
and that's not unusual for.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it's not the same number. It's
No, I'm
already.
saying that the contract with the city of Campbell River would be a fixed amount. What rate you need to generate that amount each and every year could change. Like if you apply the same tax rate year after year, you're gonna get a different result based on assessed values. That's all I'm saying. So whether or not the upper limit is different, the contract is the contract. That's what would be paid.
Well, I think from the residents' perspective, it's the real dollars that's coming out of their pocket as opposed to, you know what I mean?
But
Like
what
the-
would we use the money for if not to pay for the contract?
Well, I mean, you pay for the contract, but I'm just saying that rate, or that actual dollar value will go up each year.
Okay, you've lost me, but fair enough.
No response.
I mean, what
Yeah,
the bylaw is saying is there's a maximum that can be raised.
No, well, at least that's not what your petition says.
Okay, well,
Your petition says the greater of.
right, and that's extracted right from the bylaw. That's a fairly normal thing for bylaws, because with regional districts, there has to be an annual limit set for requisition. And expressing it as the greater of a fixed amount or a tax rate is the most common. So it's just a ceiling.
How it's worded, I'm just saying it isn't going to be a fixed rate. I've demonstrated that by showing you last year's and this year's.
No,
It's gone
no,
up
it would
by
not be, because every
3,000.
year to raise the same amount of money would be a different rate. You're quite right, because the assessments change every year, and so
Okay, so what you're saying is different from what's written here.
maybe.
Like you're talking about like how mill rates change, right? For actual taxes.
Yeah.
But here it's saying a fixed mill rate essentially. That's what it's saying.
I think that calculation was based on 2022 assessed values.
Yeah.
Just saying this, it's saying the same thing in different ways.
But that's what you're asking people to vote yes or no on, because it's on the petition,
Right,
right?
Yes.
So perhaps the petition is worded improperly.
right, and you shouldn't trust government, so,
Well,
vote
I
no.
work for them for-
What can I say?
It seems to me that this should be a separate fund. And if there has not been occurring, no pilots in 5 years to 10 years, then that fund should be used to reduce the overall cost or to buy equipment. You say it's a contract, fine, deduct 10% of administrative fees, but other than that, it should be a self-sustained fund. It doesn't make any sense to say, well, it's a contract, you pay so much, you get nothing for it. That doesn't make any sense. So if it was separately, a separate fund, okay, which had these stipulations, yes, that might go a long way.
We should ask, because didn't they enter in a similar agreement?
All right, Aaron, can you mute yourself? I think you're causing our feedback.
Oh, okay, I was just trying to talk there, but you guys
Okay,
don't see my
go-
hand. I guess
go
my
ahead,
hand
Aaron,
doesn't
then
show
mute
up on the
yourself.
screen.
We'll try to find the feedback somewhere.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to, thanks to the committee and whatnot again, like Matt's been saying, like I really appreciate all the time. But just to clarify for me, has the board already authorized this petition to go forward?
Yes.
Okay, so that's my concern, because if we get people that do not answer, does that not get checked off as a yes vote?
No reply is a no.
No reply is a no, not a yes.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks, Sean.
The other thing I was just gonna say is we should ask the other, who else entered into one of these agreements? There was another, was it not Oyster Bay, but someone else had a fire services agreement already that's outside the city.
Yeah, we contract with the city of Campbell River to provide fire suppression for electoral area D, roughly Jubilee Parkway to York Road.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to ask them, like, how long have they been doing that? Has it been a year?
Since 1972.
Yeah, so that would be a really good example. I'll bet you some of their fees that they're giving us are probably based on that contract and.
It's different. It's a letters patent, not a contract. So it's not as fixed as what this would be. Yep. That wouldn't be an apples to apples comparison because Area D is a letters patent. This would be a fixed contract.
Yeah, in that case, it's purely tax rate. Like they charge equivalent to the city tax rate for fire protection. So in this case, they're saying fixed contract. I don't think our board would be interested in a floating number. I think, you know, a fixed number is how you enter into a contract. So everyone knows in advance what the cost is going to be.
Area D pays the same amount, whether they have one fire or 1,000.
Isn't the most important thing that we should be doing here is making a decision individually as to whether we're really justified in going forward on this? Is it necessary to have this, in my books, monstrosity, in order to protect a place that hasn't had a fire in my 22 years sitting there? Not saying that it's impossible, but you know, so far the experience isn't there. And also we've got a significant increase in the shitty water supplies that we used to play with. And we've improved those dramatically with the well systems. And
yeah, just to clarify, the board has ruled that the petition is going forward. So this will start tomorrow. The question is when the deadline is. We are more than happy to extend the deadline till mid-May, end of May, mid-June. That's fine, but this does officially start tomorrow.
okay, but let's do that though. But let's get the deadline up there where we can be confident that we are communicating with all the people out at Race Point.
Right,
And,
so sorry to interrupt, but we do have packages that will go out in the mail to every property owner. And you're right, I mean, it's up to each individual owner to decide whether or not they're in favor of this or opposed to it. And like I said, and unless we get at least half of the property owners, and even then, I've my doubts whether the director would be in favor of it. He's previously indicated he would like to see a significant majority voting one way or the other. So unless, you know, there's a whole bunch of people who are not here tonight who are just want to sign on the dotted line and say, yes, please give this to us. This will take its course and mid-April, 14th of April, a deadline will happen and oh gosh, we only got 3 people in favor and the rest are opposed.
so,
Done.
sorry, can I just clarify something for my own, is that if I'm talking to people down in California or Arizona that are coming back, if they do not indicate yes, is that an automatic no?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
You know, the comment I'd make, which I think we've covered adequately here, is that it's up to each individual person and what they think the risk is. any argument about the $21,000, if there was a high risk and a fire out there, would the cost of that single fire would far exceed the $21,000? Quickly, people and equipment. So, you know, two issues, the 21,000, if it was a high risk is pretty low.
The problem there, Gary, is that the, you know, if you're talking about $900,000 home and your $21,000 isn't going to go very far, but you're still going to end up, your home is gone.
My only point was justifying the quote that the fire department made.
Okay, sorry, I misthought. You can give me shit all the way home.
Okay. We'll go the long way.
Well, I've been involved in dozens and dozens of these proposals in the interior BC and here. And I would have to say that almost exclusively they're decided by people voting with their pocketbooks. And you know, I appreciate the gentleman's argument. There's a couple of cases where communities decided, no, we're going to do it, but that's usually after a really bad fire and people die. And that's, you know, it's too bad, but that's the way people look at it, and you can't blame them. I mean, people vote with their pocketbook, and that's just the way it is. So,
Aaron, you have your hand up?
Yeah, no, I just did. And yeah, I kind of disagree with Tom. I mean, if they're not going to get there within 15 minutes, I mean, we're not going to be saving lives, right? So, and my kids would be dead. So that's my concern. And, you know, I'm not voting with a pocketbook. I got lots of fucking money. It doesn't matter. Sorry for my language. But, you know, I really just got to analyze the risk. And I don't see the benefit for having that service. You know, maybe the Race Point people get together and we come up with a better option or something, and we get something that will actually respond and actually save lives for us, right? Versus something that the city is going to subsidize their properties in the vicinity for, right? And that's my concern. You know what? I feel that it's probably not value for the dollars spent, and we could probably do something else with that money if we're going to spend it and save like lives, right? So 15 minutes isn't going to help. So thanks.
Aaron, I think that the progress that's been made over the last few years in the development of water out there is significant, because I can go back 10 years, maybe even longer, and there wasn't a well to be had. We were all farting around out there trying to get water out of a dirty creek and make it work. And right now, gosh, I'm going to say we've got 5 or 6 wells on the properties. And I predict that over the next number of years, that'll double, because the difference is so fantastic. It's an investment that is worth every penny, and it adds value to your property. It gives you, in fact, I had the fellows out from the drilling company, and they were looking at my filters that I used to change. Oh, I'm going to say I changed them every month. 2 years old, never changed a filter in it. And they said, holy cow, that's great, you know. Now, they knew what they were doing. But that said, if we can supply more water to individual locations, then I think that goes a long ways in fire protection. I think it goes a long ways in health of water. And instead of counting on the city to supply basically only in an emergency situation, which I haven't seen in 22 years or 23 or whatever, Like I'm happy that I made the investment in that well. And it's turned out to be absolutely fantastic. And there's other wells out there that may not be quite as good, but they're still protected water versus the dam creek, you know. And if you see our creeks, Jesus, like,
So to ask the question, is it the will of the group here tonight that we extend the deadline or keep it as the 14th of April?
I would like to see it extended.
Doug Offerhouse, I would like to see it extended, but I also believe that we have a responsibility as neighbors and brothers keepers. If we have a fire out there, yes, we may lose one house because of the response time, but as has been discussed, that fire can spread to adjoining, or not adjoining, but neighboring homes. And it's great that some of us have fire protection equipment at our homes, but let's face it, we're not always there. And with the city, you have a fire department that's available around the clock, year in, year out. If we're on vacation somewhere, who's gonna start the pump and start putting out the fire on a house?
We'll never know
Protect-
because you don't go on vacation.
Anyway, I think it's still worth pursuing this. And yes, it would be more attractive if it would save money on our insurance, which under the current stipulations, that won't happen. But maybe in the future, if we get a fire department closer by, say at Duncan Bay Store, maybe if the developer to the north of us wants to share his water, that would help. So I don't think we should write this off. I think it's worth postponing this.
End of May, another month and a half? There's no legal limit on it, a petition?
No, but we don't want to keep this thing, dancing forever. I guess one question I would have, Sean, is you mentioned, I believe, people living in California or vacationing there, whatever, over the winter. The letters that are going out, they're all addressed to the address on Race Point Road. Are there any addressed into the States? Do we know, or?
We got about 4 that are not on the Race Point Road area.
Are they in the States?
It said US on some of them.
Yeah.
Could be forwarded too, Jack.
What's that?
They could be forwarded too.
Yeah, like Sharon, we're emailing it to her, because I think she's just away.
I'm not sure how Steen gets his mail, but we're gonna email that to him as well.
Knows where Steen is half the time.
He's got a.
Yeah, nobody knows.
Does he?
But
Another house or.
Last I heard, he was in Denmark.
A few days ago, I saw lights going, not, you know, how typically timers take a long time, but it was only on for like a minute. So
We can email the petition to people and they can sign it and scan it and send it back to us. We're doing that for Sharon.
Well, I should just correct that. I don't think we can accept scanned signatures. They'd have to be original signature. They can scan the document off the website or whatever, but I think we'd have to only accept originally signed because there's so much, cybercrime and whatever. We need to trust that it's actually the people who are signing the document that are submitting it, so. But we do
the
try our
bulk of the
best to get
people-
everyone who has property at least aware of this proposal and able to access the information and provide a yes or a no vote, if you will, through the petition process. So we don't know all of the things that you people know because you live there, who's in town, who isn't. So it's a challenge for sure. But we do try our best to make sure everyone is fully aware.
Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't take my hand off there, Sean. Sorry about that.
I think the
Matt?
bulk of the people that are affected are maybe not as technologically advanced as dealing with emails. Like, I think it might be better just to wait till they're back and let them read their mail and then have those conversations.
We might have a majority of people from that area already saying, no, we don't want it. So, I mean, it is what it is. We'll let the process unfold. I think, as Sean mentioned, if there was uncertainty, then yes, let's extend the deadline, give people more time. That's great. But if an answer comes before then, I don't think we need to wait around for the last few people. That may sound cruel, but hey, we got other things to do.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
So I just didn't catch that. Are you saying then this process has started according to Sean as of tomorrow? So people can submit their going back to the table at the end of May and then having a discussion? Because they may not be aware of some of the points that were made tonight, like the insurance not, not having it not having an effect on our insurance rates. We're not saving anything. The other comments about, the dollar, speaking from our pockets about our dollar. I mean, there are a few things that we could discuss with everybody, and I think it would be a great idea to extend it to the end of May, but people who, I guess if they'll get that information, so maybe they won't respond right away. But if they feel that they need to respond right away, they may do that without all of the information.
So it's possible that we might only get, say, 20 responses by the deadline, which would indicate to us that, I mean, technically that's a no vote for the project, but it may indicate as well there are people who haven't made up their minds. We have no idea. We have no idea how people feel about this, other than what we've heard tonight, and whether people need more time, whatever. I mean, that's a judgment call we can make at that time, I suppose. All I'm saying is if we get 50 responses back in the mail tomorrow saying no, we're out of here. That's all I'm
I
saying.
understand that, but I also understand where you're coming from, I think, in that, if you're opening up the vote tomorrow, okay, and you have people that are voting tomorrow and are not thorough on everything we're talking about, is that really what we want? I think as a group, we want everybody in the group to be approximately at the same level, with the exception of one that doesn't know how to turn on a computer. And
Yeah, there's nothing stopping you from organizing a community meeting in Race Point Road. And we strongly encourage you to do so. We're here to answer questions about the petition process and the service. We've answered that. There's no other inside information that SRD staff have that isn't in that document. So it's not as if we need to send out letters and host it here and do the whole hybrid thing. This is where we strongly encourage you to get together, have a meeting at the park, talk with each other about this.
yeah,
The park.
when are you going
The
to
fishing grounds.
We don't have a park service for electoral area A. If you would like one, write your regional director,
Who's our regional director?
Gerald Wally.
Who? Oh, okay. See, I knew I learned something tonight.
About time.
Well, I'm just at that age now where I could really enjoy a walk along the water a little bit instead of having to come all the way into town in order to enjoy the pathways along the water in town.
Build a set of stairs down in front of your beach.
I tried that, didn't work.
I know.
That was going to be a disaster, so I stopped it. But,
So I don't know that we have anything else to tell you. If you have questions, be happy to answer them, but
well,
covered a lot.
that's a good point. Sorry for interrupting, but if tomorrow we have question, who do we contact?
Depends what the question is.
Operational Sean petition process, Tom.
So when are you gonna start on my park?
Oh, write your elected official with a community petition that you'd like staff to look into that. Same way that almost, it won't be the city asking if you want to park, but yeah, that's how all services, we don't go actively knocking on your door. Do you want septic? Do you want fire? Do you want a park? Do you want a submarine? We provide, hey, it's all possible with money, right? We provide services for residents that want them and want to pay for them. If Race Point Road area wants a park, sign a majority, send it to us. We will look into that. We'll bring back the cost. We'll get a scent of the electors, same process.
Well, we may be able to advance on that because I know that Highways is looking to, like 2 years ago, they did an inspection on that big culvert. And they called me in to come down and look at this thing. Why, I don't know. But they're saying that that big culvert that's in there is actually caving in. And they have to, and I said, well, why don't we just slip another culvert inside of it? And no, we can't do that. This is government. We've got to spend money. And so they're talking now about digging that whole culvert up and putting in a new culvert. At the same token, they're talking about expanding the width of the road out towards the ocean so that we could take traffic and drive around the existing highway there to get by while they're doing the culvert work. And but I haven't heard back from Highways yet, so, and why they would get a hold of me is beyond me. Other than I tried to get Kevin to say, let's bid on it. But he didn't want to.
But you're going to run next.
I got news for you. Give me an excavator and I'll show you how fast a park can be built.
So is there any point in extending this deadline? We're just gonna extend it, like I thought by extending it, we were going to possibly do this meeting thing again and then have more input by people present, or is that
I'm
not what? the
I'm not
purpose?
sure that we will be here. You know, I mean, it's really a community,
To do that.
it's a community decision. And again, I think someone mentioned that if we get 20 petitions tomorrow or whatever, we will not be opening any petitions before the deadline, whatever it is. Like they will be still sealed. We don't gerrymander that kind of stuff, so.
Michelle took it, like what Tom said in the beginning, me, Rivers, Tom, we could not be more apathetic to how you vote on this. If you want no, if you no, vote no, yes, vote yes. We follow the will of our board and we take it back. So like, us hearing your thoughts and your issues, it doesn't change us because we do not have, we work for the government. We have no opinion.
Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, no.
You don't want it, vote no. If you want it.
Some would say no brains as well.
Yeah, my concern is just with the rest of the residents. Like Jack said, they're away,
Sure.
so they're not hearing what we're
And
talking
like,
about.
you know, we have a website, we have phones. If people have questions, they can write letters. We're happy to answer any questions that people have. I'm not sure there's value in us trying to hold a community meeting per se. I mean, for all I know, I don't know who would even show up for it, quite frankly. And if we might have 38 no votes by the deadline anyways, I don't know. I just don't know what the future looks like.
If everyone's comfortable, if Rivers has recorded this session, we could upload it to a special link on our website that you can share with people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we'll probably create a special link for this one because there was some colorful language.
Really?
Did you want colorful language?
No. No, we want
Give
people,
me the rainbow, Jack.
we want them to be
That,
able to see.
that would be
see the
great,
video.
Sean, if we could have that.
Does anybody?
Yeah, does anybody have a problem with that?
Yeah, no, that's not what I was gonna say. Does anybody have like the emails for these people who aren't Like, I don't know everybody's email on our blog, so I don't know if there's a way to make sure they get the link so that,
I have the email for about the, I think, 15 people that responded to the survey. That's it. But it would be on the same website link that's mentioned in the invitation. So north-cr-fire-proposal. So if they go on there, they'll see it.
no, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know how to contact all these people that live on our block. I'm just wondering. No, but apparently a lot of people
Yeah.
aren't here.
But everybody is receiving the same letter that you opened tonight. It has the link to the website. If they go on there, they'll see the feasibility study. They'll see this recording.
So you can give your name, phone number, cell phone number, email address, all of that right now, and it'll be on the recording if they want to get a hold of you.
No point having a cell phone number. We don't have cell access there.
Where do I get the structure of the regional district?
On the website.
To me, it's the structure. That'd be correct.
Being the,
The what?
It's in the shows you had.
yes,
There's something wrong.
is it?
No, it's just, he doesn't understand.
Yes, please.
5 directors from Campbell River, 1 from each village, 1 for each electoral area, and 1 from Cayuga Checklisette First Nation.
What First Nation?
Cayuga Checklisette. Up in Cayuga.
Oh, okay. That's very good.
More questions? Happy to answer them. Otherwise, we don't want to keep people all day. I've heard loud and clear, lots of sentiments. We'll let the process unfold, and come the deadline, if we're unsure that people are even aware of what's going on, then I think we'll look at extending it. It might be quite decisive by then.
So for now, you're not changing the deadline. Is that,
Well, I don't know if we have a strong argument for doing it. I appreciate what John is saying. If people in the country, whatever, they gotta know about this.
right?
But their vote may not matter in the final analysis. But it might be overwhelmingly 40 in favor or 40 opposed or whatever. We'll never get 100% of people show up. to vote,
Right.
Ever.
Look at elections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we'll play that by ear. We're sensitive to what makes sense, right? We certainly are in no rush. Out of the city force on this issue. People need more time, they'll let us know.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So are you ready to take your?
They got all the property, those things. Well, and then